G'day Team Onefinity. Welcome to the first video on Rilesy.com. Basically what we're going to go through today is an overview of the enclosure that I've built for my Onefinity woodworker. So I'll open up the doors and we'll get started. It's my first time using this fandangled gimbal, so if the camera works a bit, how you going? Just please forgive me. Alright, first things first, dimensions. So, width-wise from here to here, it is 58 inches. Depth-wise from here to there is 57. And the height from here to the roof is 34 inches to allow room for the dust boot. Now obviously that's pretty big, and you can see there's plenty of space left and right. So you could go smaller if you needed to, but just remember that bigger is always better. Okay, so construction wise, as you can see, the exterior is all made out of MDF and ply, and it's on casters which are only rated to 50 kilograms each, and I reckon that's probably a bit underdone. I might need to upgrade them at some stage, mainly because I can see that there's sort of flat spots developing already and that it sort of struggles and carries on when I'm trying to move it around, so might need to upgrade them at some point. The back door, the back wall actually opens up so that if I ever need to do something that was really long, I could do an infinite workpiece. Alright, so the frame's made out of this stuff called LVL, which a few people have asked me about. And basically the best way to describe LVL is it's like 2x4 made out of ply. You can see it a bit better down here underneath the table. And the main reason that I have used LVL is because the wood around here is usually bent as a banana, and I'm not skilled enough to sort of make things nice and plumb and flat without kind of using this LVL stuff. LVL, because it's made in a factory, is really consistent and straight, so it's really easy to make things square and flat. And that was one of the main goals, is getting this main tabletop super flat. I used nice big grunty pieces of MDF on it, and then underneath, angle this up, you'll see that I've really reinforced the underneath of it with a sort of matrix of framing. And that's all just with the goal of just making the tabletop as flat as possible. Alright, so one of the other massive goals with this was to really reduce the noise that the machine would make. And the main reason is because I've got neighbours on the other side of that wall and neighbours immediately behind me. We live in sort of a 3-story attached townhouse. And I did a bunch of research and I found this awesome video by DIY Perks where they explained that essentially cheap towel that I got from a sort of secondhand reject shop is the best noise insulation. So I've used, I think I bought 65 towels at like 50 cents each to construct all of this. So the first bunch of those towels went into the dust cabinet, which is down here. Now I use this dust vac as my workshop cleaning dust vac as well. So I've got a spare hose that I can detach and then just run it out so I can whip around the workshop and clean up. But basically the way I've done this cabinet is, you'll see, I'll get in here, right down in the back right corner there, that rear wall doesn't quite make it to the far side. So it leaves a gap for the air to come through. And I sort of took inspiration from a stealth bomber's exhaust with this design. And then so basically this is the back wall here, and then this one doesn't make it all the way to the other end either. And then so what that essentially creates is like a spiral that or a sort of a snake path that the air has to come out of to escape. And it makes it really quiet. I'll give you a little bit of a comparison. 1 second. So that's what it sounds like when the vacuum's off. And if I close that up, you can see that it's dramatically better. It's always a bit of a funny one with digital audio, but you can see that it's definitely a lot quieter now that it's the door's shut. And I find that even just with this door open like that, it's still quite quiet, but gives it a wee bit more ventilation. And I'm very, switch this off. very aware of the fact that there's a potential for it to overheat in there, so I bought a couple of smoke alarms that I'm going to put one in here and then one up the top as well for a bit of fire safety. So last thing on the dust vac, obviously with it being down there, the switch on the top is not real accessible. So I got this little remote control socket which speaks to this remote here. And so basically when I'm setting up stuff, I can just hit that, dust comes on. So a bit of a luxury, but I think it's awesome. Alrighty, so the noise proofing inside is quite cool as well. Basically each of these walls is a ply frame, and my partner was really kind to stitch up a bunch of towels together to make a sort of a big sheet that I could staple around the frame, kind of like a canvas painting. And then the inside behind this, I then stitched on about 6 layers of towel. So there's 7 layers of towel between that and the outside walls. So it's actually really quiet once I've got it all up and running. And they can all be removed for cleaning if need be. And as I said, yeah, that rear door opens as well. Another thing I did to reduce the noise was to seal all the doors with this sticky foam tape, and I also caulked all of the frame as well, just to seal the frame. And then on the outside of the doors, you can see I put this little that's actually like a draft reducer for a door. I just mounted that vertically, and I originally intended on using these style latches, but I actually found it was better just to put a really simple chunk of ply and do a latch like that, because doing it like that sort of forces the door into the hole and seals it up better. Whereas after trialing this for a little bit, it just was a bit of a pain, so I ditched it. Alright, the lights, basically I just got really cheap LED strip lights, 2x5 meter. One thing to check with these is that that they'll go fully white. The light in mine is kind of a little bit blue, and it does let you do a whole bunch of party mode because they're RGB LED. But generally speaking, I just keep it to white. But yeah, that white's just a wee bit sort of cold and not really proper white, but it does get the job done. Okay, fixings wise, basically, part of the reason for making the tabletop so big is just to give myself a little bit of a work area here for, things like bits that you're using and calipers. And then I've mounted the screen and the probe. This is Rowdy Roman's awesome little probe holder with the magnetic little thing down the bottom. And then I'd heard that the screen mount was a bit janky, so I just ditched it, made this real simple tray and just popped the screen in there. I might end up going to a slightly bigger screen in the future, but for now that works fine. So that side I've just got some tools and the remotes and laser glasses. And then this side, get the camera to come around, it's having a bit of a conniption. Alright, tape, another one of Rowdy Roman's creations, the remote holder, and then my spanners for the collet, and then the dust boot, the different sized dust boot holes. Okay, so the dust boom, also by Rowdy Roman. It's really good. I didn't quite get the length of my vacuum hose right the first time I used it, and when it went over to the far left hand corner, it kind of broke my mount, so I've had to do the old zip tie job of holding that back together. So yeah, make sure you get that right, otherwise you'll break it. But yeah, other than that, it works really well. And I also had a 3D printed mount made to adapt from my hose into the dust boot. I've got the files for that, and it'll be pretty easy to adjust them to whatever diameters you're dealing with. So if you need that, let me know. Okay, another thing with the dust boom, you'll notice that it's in the front right-hand corner, which obviously isn't the most convenient because it's kind of getting in the way a little bit. But based on the location of my dust vac, I decided to put it in the front right because you know, in future I might be in a different workshop where I don't have access to the sides, just like I don't have access really here. So I just decided to that the front would always be accessible, so that I'd put it there, given that I'm going to use this dust vac as my clean up jobby for the rest of the workshop too. Okay, wasteboard. So that is Ben Meyer's creation as well. So I got his the wasteboard itself, which underneath there is a bunch of. All right, 1 second. These little T-nuts. And I'm actually going to do a video outlining how I sort of modified the design a little bit for that. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I've got his fixed fence, which is really handy, just being able to whack a bit of wood in there and know that it's going to be square to the machine. And then his little cam clamps are great because, again, all the different size workpieces working on, you can just bang them in there, tighten it up, and you're away. So the drag chain on the left-hand side here, you'll see that basically the cables come out of the bottom of the table and then along onto the drag chain, and then this here is a 3D printed bracket from Route 1 Design, and then so that sort of feeds them L-shaped. And then so on the X-axis, basically it's just a couple of brackets at the rear here that hold these metal rails for the drag chain to sit in, and then there's another custom bracket up here, and it actually has these cool little clips that hold the laser cables when you're not using them. So it's really handy and just tightens it up. I personally think that this should either be an upgrade or just part of the standard option that comes with the Onefinity, because until you put the drag chains in, there's just cables everywhere, and with the machine sort of moving around on a big job, like it can eventually sort of get cables like caught in between and you know, crump it. So I think it's definitely a must do. It's really simple for the install. It's just a matter of getting those parts and getting them 3D printed, and then if you can use an Allen key, you can install the drag chain like that. Really straightforward to install. Alright, so last couple of things here. This is a webcam that I've got integrated in, but it's not quite got the right field of view to be able to see the entire wasteboard, even if I put it sort of right up in the corner. So I think I'm going to replace that. That one there is the Logitech C270, I think it is, and the field of view is only sort of 60 or 70 degrees, whereas those Wise cameras, I think they're just about to release a V3. They've got a sort of 110 or 120 field of view, something like that, so that should be plenty to be able to keep an eye on the whole wasteboard. And that'll be a separate system, so I'll be able to put it in my office on a separate monitor and then, you know, monitor it on my phone as well, so that'll be pretty handy. Alright, so that pretty much completes the basic setup that I've done so far. The only future modification that I'm planning is to put a set of drawers underneath here just to hold bits and other accessories so that they're easy access while you're changing out workpieces and whatnot. So stay tuned for a video on that. I've also picked out the first 5 little products that I'm going to make for my local business here, and so I'll make some videos outlining that process as well, so stay tuned for that. I'll post up all the links to everything that we've talked about today, so keep an eye out for them, and I'll see you in the next video.